Stokes at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Honors Weekend. He's going to receive the Order of Merit for his career of leadership and involvement with the sport of wrestling. I just want to maybe talk about different parts of what you've been experiencing in your journey within wrestling. I know you started with USA Wrestling representing the armed forces. But what was it about wrestling in a sport after you got involved with USA Wrestling that hooked you into like hanging around for decades to be a leader at the sport?
I came onto the board of USA Wrestling as the representative for the armed forces, and I remained in that position on the board for a number of years. But as I came to know more about the organization of USA Wrestling as the national governing body for this sport, and the deeper my understanding of the sport itself became, it was just hard not to walk away from it. It was a pleasure. It was an honor, a privilege just to be associated with it. And then in my own small way, maybe do what I could do to help strengthen this organization.
Yeah, let's take a big picture view of it, because we're talking almost 40 years of leadership and involvement at USA Wrestling. What kind of achievements has USA Wrestling done that you're most proud of for the organization and the sport since you got started? Because there's been a lot of growth and change in wrestling since we both got in the late 80s, right? What are the big things that you think we're better at USA Wrestling than we were when you got started?
I think there's a number of areas that we have grown in the years. I think that we've become stronger as an organization with regard to our policies and our governing documents, but more than that, our ability to reach out and serve wrestlers across this country of all ages and provide opportunities for young people to grow on the mat and off the mat as well, to be strengthened and to go to the highest skill level possible. I think that is a great accomplishment of USA Wrestling, and it all comes as a result of the leadership of our presidents and a number of people throughout the course of the years.
I mean, one of your key roles in wrestling, not just serving on committees and running certain aspects of what we do, was as a team leader going overseas internationally. I mean, you probably got to sample a lot of the world through your wrestling involvement. But what do you feel is the main job for you as a team leader when you're the one with the group over in Russia or somewhere in Europe and you're the person responsible for making that a successful trip?
Well, first and foremost, you want everybody to go wherever it is we're going and then return home in the safest manner possible. But while we're there, I've always told our coaches, you take care of the coaching and I will take care of every administrative thing that needs to be taken care of. But more than that, every time we leave this country and we have USA gear on, I've always felt like a sport ambassador. I realize, having lived in Europe for 9 years, working with the Army, and then particularly focusing on wrestling programs across Europe with the United States military, I realize every time we go into another country, we are truly representatives and ambassadors of the United States. So I want to carry forth our values, and I want to be everything that we are as a people and as a country.
So, sports broadcasting. You do it very well, right? How did you get involved with calling sports events? I know you'd done it before you did USA Wrestling events. And how much have you enjoyed when you've had the opportunity to be an announcer for USA Wrestling on television, on the internet? What's that experience been like for you? You didn't study it, right?
No, I've never taken a broadcasting course in my life. I walked into Armed Forces Network in Europe one day, and I started to tell them about what we had been doing the previous weekend and what we had coming up, and they said, can we turn on a tape recorder? And that was the beginning of my opportunities within sports broadcasting. In particular, the opportunities to work with wrestling, they remained at the top of my list. Understanding the sport, understanding the athletes, and then working to tell their stories has been an absolute privilege. I have enjoyed every second of it. Yes, I've done a lot of different sports, but nothing goes ahead of wrestling in terms of giving me the joy of the experience.
So, how important have your efforts been for USA Wrestling in the strategic planning space? I mean, you've been right in the middle of creating and organizing a system of where our organization and our sport has a forward vision and sets the kind of goals and expectations that helps the sport to thrive. Talk a little bit about the strategic planning role you've had.
I think our strategic long-range action plan is absolutely huge. I think it's key and crucial to any organization to have a vision and then to have initiatives, thrust, goals, objectives, and then way to accomplish that with some fairly clear end states in mind. I think if you don't have a plan, well, any road's going to get you there. But I think to have a plan and to be able to operate that plan, to be able to put it in motion, and then to be able to realize results based upon the direction that has been set for the organization, I think that's key and crucial to its success.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, it's a challenge because you challenge yourself and the people in that planning process, right? I mean, do you get fired up like today I'm going to be doing a strategic plan?
Wrestling is a unique sport. It's built around individuals, but nobody gets to the podium by themselves. It's that
Nope.
simple. And so it takes people coming together and sometimes doing things that they're not used to doing, which is coming together in a room, talking about lofty ideas, setting lofty goals, and then holding each other mutually and jointly accountable as we go down the road together. Wrestling is a sport that's active. It's physical, but putting a plan together, that's a huge, huge mental challenge. And I think USA Wrestling has risen to that occasion.
So let's talk a little bit about treasurer, which has been a role that you've excelled at as one of our board officers. I mean, yeah, it's great to do things and to build a system and a plan, but someone's got to pay for it, right? And be responsible and be stewards of that precious resource. Talk about how you approached your role when you were the organization's treasurer, and you did it for many cycles. So, why was that so important to the sport's success?
I think the ability to be a steward of the resources that we have has been absolutely huge and very, very important for that organization. The ability to be accountable for every dime, nickel, penny that comes in and then goes out of the organization so that the funds are put forth in a way that will uphold the objectives, the goals, and the initiatives of the organization. I think that's key. You have to match resources with your goals and objectives, and your goals and objectives need to be able to be funded by the resources that you have. So you have to deal with finance, you have to deal with accounting, and you have to be a steward of everything that you're doing, and then put all of those efforts together so that we can be really who we want to be.
So, I mean, we're talking almost 4 decades of being around some of the most important people in USA Wrestling and in the sport. Who are some of your peers that you've served with on the board or committees or even in the field in wrestling that you really have enjoyed and appreciated them as people that were within the sport? Are there some people that stand out to you in that journey?
It's really tough to start.
Probably too many, huh?
It's really tough after you've been with the organization as long as I have, perhaps, to start pulling out individual names, because there are so many people. We would be here for a long time if I tried to list everybody. But there are some names that stick out. Greg Strobel, in particular, is one who just shared his heart with the organization, shared his time, shared his talent. There was Mark Ryland, who spoke on behalf of states that had grassroots wrestling programs around the country. Mark Ryland did a superb job in leading, in leadership with USA Wrestling. And there was Myron Roderick. Myron Roderick just injected a vision, he injected humor, he injected personality into everything that we have done. Sadly, those 3 individuals are not with us any longer. And then Dwayne Morgan, who seemed to share the role of secretary and then share the role of treasurer for a number of years. As we talked many times over the phone, he was also very instrumental in setting a tone and setting a pace in a direction that this organization should be looking at.
Yeah, you've been involved in a variety of programs at USA Wrestling, but as far as on the mat, you've really put a lot of effort as a leader in Greco-Roman. Talk about why that was something that drove you to work with that style, because it's, you know, not the deepest and biggest style in our country, and it's one that we're always looking to improve at. Why Greco, and what has that journey been like for you?
Well, the role of Greco-Roman wrestling in the military has been absolutely huge as well.
Yep.
The United States Army in particular, and in particular Floyd Winter, who was the Army coach when I became involved with wrestling in Europe, started to talk about Greco-Roman wrestling. I did not know much about it. I was more comfortable with freestyle, as so many people understandably might be. But Floyd started to develop military wrestlers in the discipline of Greco-Roman wrestling. And with that, I came to understand the technical aspects of the sport and really the importance of the sport. And when the Olympic medals are handed out, they're handed out in Greco-Roman just as they are in freestyle, men's freestyle and women's freestyle. And the focus on Greco stems from my involvement with the military, but it is carried over into USA Wrestling at large.
Well, you must feel good about the fact that one of our Greco superstars, Matt Limlin's going in with you, right? I mean, he's part of, he's Mr. Greco-Roman, has been our national coach as well. I mean, you built the programs to help support like Matt Limlin's journey, right? How's that feel to see that he's going to be up there on the stage with you?
The interesting thing about Greco-Roman wrestling is the fact that I'm not going to help any wrestler become a better wrestler, a Greco-Roman wrestler, or a freestyle wrestler. But if we can help this organization of USA Wrestling be all it can be as a national governing body, then I think the recipient of that will be the wrestlers.
Yep, absolutely.
They will become all they can be if we can make the organization all it can be. So having watched Matt Limlin through the years win his Olympic medal and then come on to be the national coach and have the opportunity to work with him and just watch him grow and just watch him become the man that he is, that's just been a unique pleasure and a real joy.
So when we talk about what your role in wrestling is as a volunteer leader, which means you got paid to do other things, you had other jobs, you had other responsibilities. I mean, how did you find the time and passion to make the difference that you've made over the year? Because again, you know, if Van's on the phone 3 nights, 5 nights this week talking wrestling, you had to find the time and commitment to that. How did you justify the time investment you've had as a volunteer?
First of all, it's not hard to justify the time when you believe in the mission, when you believe in the cause of what we're doing. And I have always aligned myself with the values of USA Wrestling, and I have always believed in our mission and always believed in our vision at USA Wrestling. So making that happen simply meant that I had to have a very balanced schedule and stay organized. So when the opportunity came to be a part of a conference call or to attend a meeting or to come into Colorado Springs to work on a certain initiative, I was going to be prepared and I was going to be ready. So between the organization and then balancing a schedule, that's the only way you can make it happen.
Yeah, and you know, we'd get on these calls and someone would say, hey, I need some help in this area. You'd step up and say, yeah, I'll do it, rather than saying, okay, Van, could you do it? I mean, you know, obviously the mission and the work that we do got you to say yes to a lot of things, right? I mean, when you first started as the military rep, did you think you'd ever get this involved in wrestling or anything outside of what you do professionally?
I never thought that I would get involved as much as I've become involved with the organization and administration perhaps of USA Wrestling, but I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity. And in the Army, we used to say the reward for doing a good job is the opportunity to do more good jobs.
Yeah, yeah.
And that seems to carry over into other areas, perhaps USA Wrestling as well. But even though I never sought these opportunities, and it was never my goal to do these things with USA Wrestling, I could not be more grateful and I could not be more pleased.
So what were your initial thoughts, and how are you managing the fact that you were selected for this Hall of Fame honor and that you're going to join this group of wrestling legends and heroes as somebody who made a difference in the sport. Just your thoughts about what's going on here and what you and your family are going to be going through this weekend.
Well, this is my first trip to Honors Weekend, and I can't imagine anyone else who might feel less deserving and more honored than to be here this weekend. The fact that my family, our 3 sons, their wives and families will be with us, and then friends in wrestling and other friends as well, it means a lot. But I'm so used to being on the other side of the microphone or on the other side of the camera, being the interviewer and not the interviewee, that it's a little bit of a change for me.
Yeah.
But I still am so grateful for the opportunity that I welcome the change.
Well, as a person that has shared a lot of that journey with you at USA Wrestling over the years, congratulations, and looking forward to seeing what the rest of the weekend will be like. But real proud of you, Van, and thank you for doing this interview so we can share some of the stories.
Thank you very much.